Hey, my dudes, I've gathered you here at the Talking Cliff today to talk about balance. Now, who am I? What do I know about balance? Well, I'm not a game developer, you gotta keep that in mind, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. And if you think I'm wrong, definitely tell me to shut up in the comments. Anyway, I've had some ideas cooking for a minute about the balance of this game, and I have been invading since Dark Souls 1, so that's over a decade of my life, and I can see the problems that this game has that contrast with older games, and some that mirror older games. So we're going to talk about that today, and I'm going to tell you how I think that the biggest problem with the game could get fixed. Anyway, before we get into it, like and subscribe if you like PvP stuff. I normally make invasion videos, so if you're into that, maybe stick around. Or don't, it's up to you. And dislike if you dislike it. Good hunting. Okay, my dudes. So, just recently, we found out that From is actually paying attention to the PvP community. Because they just released a giant patch. It was their best attempt to help the PvP community. They nerfed a lot of things that needed nerf, and they made a lot of changes that are good on the surface. But what they didn't realize was that they actually buffed ganks and nerfed invaders. Well, what do I mean? They nerfed Ash of War damage pretty much across the board, okay? Now that sounds like a good thing on the surface because we can't get one-shotted as easily by gankers. But at the same time, the main thing you can rely on as an invader is ganker stupidity and overconfidence. So, if you have a really high damaging Ash of War, and you have stupid gankers, it's really easy to hit them with this high damaging Ash of War and delete one. And that can save an entire invasion just getting rid of one phantom. And on top of that, gankers really don't level vigor, so that makes good Ashes of War even more useful. So by nerfing Ashes of War damage, they've actually nerfed invaders and buffed ganks because we can't just one-shot phantoms anymore. Now that's not always a good strategy. We can still get the job done without that, but it's significantly harder without a good delete button, or at least something that can delete from pretty low health, you know, something that does pretty good damage. Like, I like carrying Grandeur because it can do 1500 to 2000 damage, depending on how you charge it up and what they're wearing. But now it only does 1500 damage max, and that's on the third charge. Keep in mind, carrying Grandeur is an Ashe that requires a lot of skill to land, especially in an invasion. So I don't think they should have nerfed Ashes like that, just the really spammable ones. I think instead of nerfing Ash of War damage across the board, they should have left the damage the same, but nerfed the FP cost. Or should I say buffed the FP cost. They should have made Ashes of War cost a lot more FP so that they aren't so spammable. Because I think that's the biggest problem with the game right now. It's not necessarily the damage, it's just how many chances people have to hit you with that big damage. How many people can spam their Ash of War and how much can they do it. Because if you're in a gank and you have 3 dudes spamming an Ash of War, it gets really ugly. It gets really bad, really fast. And the easiest way to fix that would just be to make Ashes of War cost more. I mean, that's all it really is. I think that's the biggest problem with the game in terms of PvP and PvE. Dudes are going through the game only pressing L2 with overleveled phantoms backing them up. They are ganking invaders just with L2. And it's really bad because some Ashes of War are really strong and really easy to land. I think it's okay if they do a lot of damage as long as they can't be spammed so much. They were helpful as nukes when we could use them against a gank, and I'm pretty sure they like their Ashes of War doing more damage too. I just think they should be less spammable. Now, I've talked to a lot of other invaders about this, and it seems that most people agree with this sentiment. They are too spammable. We don't want people doing Vikes L2 16 times in a row without having to drink a blue flask. And the thing about this balancing act is, if we do that, or From does that, people won't be able to spam their Ashes unless they dump copious amounts of stats into their mind, and that means they won't have any vigor. So it's a pretty huge balancing act if people have to choose between spamming L2 or vigor. They already sort of do, but not really. Because Ashes are really cheap right now. I think I can cast Carrying Grandeur like 16 times at 25 mind. This is a spell sword build, by the way. But I just don't think that should be possible. I think that if they did this, it would significantly improve the game. and make it better for everybody. Honest to God. So the main point of this post is basically make Ashes of War cost more FP. I don't know how much more. Maybe double. Maybe something like that. I don't know. They're just too spammable. They're too readily available for people to just throw out and throw out. They don't have to be careful about it at all. It's basically the same risk as an R1, which is kind of bizarre. People aren't even using the rest of their moveset. They're just using L2s. It is ridiculous, and it's so annoying. Also, there is a second part to this. Overleveled Phantoms need to be fixed. Unscaled Phantoms need to be fixed. Now, this is something us invaders have been dealing with for a while. But if you password summon a friend who's way higher level than you, say you're level 100 and you summon someone that's level 700. People at level 700 get endgame gear, endgame spells, endgame weapons, and as they level up, they gain innate defense that is not tied to their armor, so their skin is literally thicker than everybody else's because they're just higher level. And on top of that, whatever they're wearing will not make them fat roll. And they have a shitload of poise. They basically have everything that their level 700 character would have. And most importantly, they have the same scaling as they do in their world. So if they have 99 arcane with their Rivers of Blood, then they're going to have 99 arcane scaling when they come into the host's world. So host and invader will be level 100. And the Phantoms are basically level 700 with a little bit nerfed vigor. They usually take the vigor down, and that's about it. And they also take the weapon upgrade down, but the scaling is still there, so it's still going to do a shitload of damage to you. So we have to take out Phantoms that are all beefed up like this, and it's always been a problem. FromSoft needs to do something about this. That is the biggest problem in terms of damage. That's why people are saying nerf the damage, because these overleveled Phantoms are unscaled, and they're doing nuclear damage to people without having any justification for it. Especially the wizards and the bleed builds. I mean, the regular melee builds, it's still true too, but wizards are the worst. Some wizards that are level 700, when you're level 100 as the invader, can take half your health with any basic spell, and it's just ridiculous. They need to do something about this. This should not be a thing. I understand they can't do anything about them having endgame gear, but the least they could do is actually scale down their damage scaling. And that's pretty much all I've got to say, guys. These are the two biggest problems with the game, in my eyes. So whether you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments. If you think I'm dumb, tell me to get fucked. Anyway, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Good hunting.